Good morning. It is the 18th of October now. This is Friday. Looks like we're going to get some rain probably overnight tonight, so whatever we get done today might be the soybeans we get done for the time being, which probably isn't going to get finished, but such is life. Going to blow the combine off again this morning. Also time to do the 50-hour service, so just some additional stuff to grease and check fluids and stuff. Some of them we check daily anyway, as far as the coolant and engine oil and some other hydraulic fluid and stuff like that. But a few extra things this morning. I'm going to try to get some better video of blowing off the right side of the combine, since when I was recording yesterday the camera fell on the ground. So I don't know exactly how much of that I got, but got the combine parked or pulled up to the shop here in the opposite direction this morning, so hopefully we'll get some better footage of that. Alright, here's blowing off the right side of the combine, take two. We also up in the game a little bit on the eye protection this morning. The glasses that I had before were fogging over pretty bad, so hopefully with the goggles I'll be able to see a little bit better. Maybe going to try some different dust masks. These are kind of knockoff non-3M valve dust masks, and they don't seem like they actually seal that well against your face. So anyway, here's a dust cloud. And the 50-hour lube on stuff, so should be basically good to go. Didn't find anything too crazy out of line, but since I don't think it's dry enough to run yet, we are going to check something here on the feeder house. So before the season we put a new chain in the feeder house, so basically what pulls the grain or the crop up from the head into the combine, and there's an adjustment basically on the tension for that to keep it tight enough but not too tight. So if you can see here on the lid, there's kind of a guide where basically you want the chain down inside here. I don't know if you can be able to see it very well or not. To have a little bit of a gap under it, about in the middle or so, and we're touching clear to the front. Probably just because the chain is new, so you're going to have a little bit more wear right at the beginning, and then probably won't have to adjust it for a while. We're going to tighten up the adjuster so there's a little bit of a gap there. So basically there's just a eye bolt here on the side of the combine. The camera readjusts. So we'll loosen up these bolts and this one, and then basically just tighten this one to push that eye bolt a little bit forward, and then we'll check that tension again and do the same thing on the other side, get that adjusted to where it's supposed to be. Alright, so hopefully got this adjusted. We're going to see if we can kind of show you how to check. So we're looking kind of right in the door here, and we want in the very middle, we want it to just be up a little bit when we touch it with our finger. So we got a little bit of a gap there. Maybe tightened up a little bit when I tightened that front bolt, but I think it's within spec. We'll check that when we switch over to corn and make sure that it still looks good. But basically, these slats are what pulls everything up. So there's actually 3 chains here, one on each side and one in the middle. And then these metal slats rotate around and pull that crop up from the head into the cylinder. Another project that I'm working on right now is getting a Hinneker air drill put back together. Bought it a couple months ago, I guess, but it'd been sitting outside for several years and not used. So had a lot of things, nothing really major to work on, but several minor things. This is kind of the metering section. So these seed wheels turn around to kick the seed, whatever you're planting, down into the air delivery system, and you can see that like these over here are the ones that were on it, totally eaten up by mice. So replacing those, need to replace some wheels here also, and hopefully get that put back together and drill some rye if we have time, or if it hasn't frozen up when we finish harvest. Howdy. So I got to running. It's about 11:30 now. It's been going for about an hour. Just had a little bit of excitement. So I came up to the end of the field here and was kind of pushing in the middle of the head, and I think I might have found some treasure. So when I was planting cover crop last year in the fall, I lost a press wheel off the back of the drill, and looks like we just found it. And fortunately, we found it before it went into the combine, so even better. Good news. Hey, it's Friday afternoon, and we're going to have a little adventure. So we're just combining along this creek bottom, and now we're going to go onto a little piece on the other side through this rock bottom crossing. So this is a relatively common way to get across sort of small bodies of water. Things where you'll have a lot of water come through here after a big storm, but the rest of the time not a lot. So basically it's just dug out and rock put down so that there's a solid base and the water can kind of flow across that. But you can drive your farm equipment across it in order to plant and spray and combine. So basically go down and up the other side. And now we're going to combine some soybeans over here. Howdy. It is Sunday afternoon, October 20th, yes. And it's dried off enough that I'm able to run a few soybeans. We got about 1/4 of an inch Friday night, Saturday morning. So weren't able to harvest anything yesterday, but kind of got the combine cleaned up and fixed a few minor repair things, combine and a couple other deals, and then took a little bit of a break, but got more rain coming in this evening probably, and the sun shined for a little bit today at least, so things kind of got dried out. We're running 12.5 to 13 or so % moisture right now. These are 3.8 Liberty bean. Turn around so you can see ahead instead of looking at my ugly face. Seems like the kind of story of this year is variability. So the good dirt is doing pretty good, and the poorer dirt is kind of not so fantastic, but overall can't complain too much. But basically hoping to maybe get 10 or 15 or 20 acres done today before the rain comes, so that hopefully we can get this field finished within a day whenever it gets fit to run again, and then get switched over to corn. Got a bunch of waterways I'm going to have to cross here, and it'll be a lot easier with two hands than one. So I'm going to cut this off for the time being. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it in the video, but we're getting some raindrops. Guessing we're probably going to be about done for today here pretty shortly. Have gotten a little bit done, maybe not quite 10 acres, but getting in that ballpark anyway. And usually the first few acres or first portion of the field is your least efficient, because you're trying to get stuff outlined on end-rows off and turning around and trying not to run over crop and all of that. So hopefully we'll be in a spot that can at least run half decent when it does get decent weather tomorrow afternoon, or whenever it dries off and gets fit, I guess. But looks like we're about done for the day. Let's see what happens with this storm system coming in tonight, and reassess, figure out where to go from there. So as it turned out, the sprinkles didn't really last very long, so I was able to keep running for a little bit, but not very long. It's about 6 o'clock now, a little after 6, and things seem to be getting tough, so we're pretty much done for the night. Unloading the last hopper load into the truck right now, and going to close up the tarp to keep things dry. This shower coming overnight, and see what happens and go from there. Good enough. Let's head for home. Howdy. It is Wednesday, October 23rd, and might be able to run a few beans. It's about almost 5 o'clock now, so it's probably going to be a pretty short run for today. But this is kind of the first chance that I've had since Sunday to do anything in the field, so I'm going to try to get something done anyway. We had about a little over an inch and 1500ths, I believe, early morning Monday, and Monday was just garbage, cold and wet and cloudy, so nothing dried. Had decent drying yesterday, and then got some more showers overnight, and it hasn't really dried off much today, or it's just starting to get dried off now, enough that maybe we can run, or we'll be around 13, or hopefully not too much above. So we're going to try them and see what happens. This might be a 5-minute project, or at best case probably a 2-hour project, but maybe we can get a few off anyway. So we're going to kick things up, and you know what, I think the lock is up on the head, isn't it? Yep. We were crawling around underneath us in the shed, so we put the safety stop on the feeder house. So I'll kind of show you what we've got over here. We got the hydro handle, which is our forward and backward. Being a hydro, you have basically infinitely a variable speed up to top speed, which is valuable when you're trying to regulate the crop coming into the combine. So we're running in the middle throttle position right now. We have three position throttle. So normally we'll engage the separator and the unloading auger at the middle or the low position, and then kick it up into full throttle for doing the actual operation. So first thing we're going to do is kick on the electric clutch for the head, and then the separator, and then we'll throttle up. And you can hear the beeping there, which was all of the low speed alarms since we weren't at full throttle when we engaged, but that's normal. So we'll move the throttle lever ahead and kind of head towards our crop here, and then we'll push the button to run the head down. The raise and lower on the head is automatically regulated in soybeans, so it has a controller on the right side that senses how high the sickle is, essentially, I think, and then adjusts the hydraulics up and down to keep the cutter bar at an appropriate height. So on the hydro handle there, we've got the button to raise and lower the head, and then also raise and lower the reel, so we can kind of adjust how the crop is feeding in. All the other speed settings for everything are back farther on the armrest there, and try to do a video about that at some point. Showing about 13.4% right now, which is not spectacular. If I was going into a bin and could put some air on these, I would definitely try to run, because I would like to get finished up with soybeans and move to corn. But yeah, we're 13.7 now, so we'll kind of run a little bit here. If we don't have too many bushels, we can mix them in with some dry beans when we run tomorrow. But if it's actually all in that close to 14 range, probably I'm going to go home pretty soon. Usually with the yield monitor, the moisture sensor on it will read lower than the elevator moisture sensor as things are drying out. The ones that the elevators use are kind of a more elaborate technology that can kind of assess the moisture farther into the kernel or the soybean. If things are drying down, typically the yield monitor moisture sensor, or the older style moisture sensors that we have for benchtop testing, will actually read lower than the elevator will. So there's a fair chance that we might be above 14, and above 14 is a pretty significant dock. So I'm going to turn off the camera because we got some crap wadding up over here on the end of the head, and I need to kind of do my job. But I'll keep you posted how things are going. So good news, found some beans that are a little bit drier. Made about one round in the spot that I took the video earlier, and decided that was probably not going to be a good spot to run, but there little tiny triangle patch there between some waterways that I figured I might as well take out because it wasn't going to be very many bushels and kind of is not very efficient. So let's spend some time and get that done so I don't have to deal with it in better conditions hopefully tomorrow. And then kind of took out across the field to maybe cut some headlands into an area that's been cropped longer and is somewhat more eroded. So thought maybe getting out here, the beans possibly would have shut down earlier in the season or not been alive as late. It looks like we have a nice little tile blowout here. I'm finding some stuff down in the 12s, 12% or high 12s, mostly 12.1, but mostly 12.5 to 12.7, 12.8 probably, but hopefully should be 13 or less at the elevator when we get the truck loaded in there tomorrow. So hopefully we'll be able to run for a little bit before the sun goes down or the moisture comes up. Probably not going to have as good a yield on this part of the field, but hopefully we can at least get something done. So that's where we're at right now. Maybe get the truck full